What's going on, guys? Your boy RedpillCanuck back again for another YouTube video. Shout out to the Canuck Squad for being involved and being active on this YouTube channel. And of course, today is good old Money Monday. The day we forget about tail and think about our wallets. But before we get into today's episode, shout out to RedpillCanuck.com, our daily pill, where we get a lot of news articles, podcasts, and all that fun stuff. And the majority of our videos are up on here. So if you're falling behind on your RPC content, it's all up here for your viewing pleasure. And if you're listening on alternative platforms, shout out to everybody on good old Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I didn't forget about you guys. Shout out to you. Hit the follow button if you haven't already. And if you're on YouTube right now, hit the like button on the way in and subscribe if you haven't already. Now, of course, like I said, today is our installment of Money Monday. And today we are doing it on January's financial forecast. Now, it's really sad to see that we are literally 23 days in to the new year, and we are already facing financial-ish. Now, let's get into it. Now, a lot of companies have been doing massive layoffs in 2023, and literally today. And we're going to get into this video about Microsoft as well. We're going to get into this video, so we're going to pause this for now. Let me just put it right here, so hopefully, stay there. There we go. Literally today, Spotify. That's right, Spotify. Has slashed 6% of its workforce, which amounts to 600 employees. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of that sound effect today. Shout out to the soundboard. It has not stopped, ladies and gentlemen. We are doing layoffs after layoffs after layoffs in the tech sector, and it looks like nobody is safe. But let us get into this video here, and we're actually going to look into the tech layoffs of 2023. Oh, and yes, it does get even worse. But let's get into this video here. Shout out. Actually, you know what? We're going to do fair use to ABC News because it's, it's always good to do fair use just in case. Fair use. Expert to copyright material will be under circumstance quoted verbatim for the purpose of criticism, reporting, teaching, and research without the need or permission to payment to the copyright holder. Shout out to fair use. Now let's get into today's video here. Oh, let me take off the fair use first. Well, there we go. Let's roll the film.
Furious at the nation's tech companies amid fears of a looming recession. So let's take a look by the numbers. Microsoft announced today it would lay off 10,000 employees, or about 5% of the company's headcount, as the software giant braces for slower growth as companies spend less on their IT spending. And the online retail behemoth Amazon today began the process of eliminating more than 18,000.
Now, with Amazon, they already laid off 10,000 people. So this added to that, we're closing in on, allegedly, close to 30,000 employees. Now, that could be the reason. The reason for that could be also during pandemic time, or we like to call it here a plandemic. Anyway, continuing. They hired quite a bit of people. Because obviously people were locked in their homes and they were doing a lot of more online shopping. So obviously the need was there. Obviously the need ain't there no more. So a lot of online sectors are taking a huge hit. And Amazon is one of the major ones. Continuing.
1,000 employees. That's the largest reduction in the company's 28-year history. And it comes after Amazon's workforce ballooned to more than 1.6 million employees during the pandemic.
There you go.
The company's headcount from the end of 2019. But Amazon and Microsoft are just the latest to lower the axe, with CNBC reporting that some 60,000 employees have been let go by tech companies in just the past year. And among them,
wow,
software services company Salesforce said it would cut cut 7,000 jobs earlier this month, or about 10% of its workforce. In November, Facebook parent company Meta slashed its workforce by 11,000 jobs, or about 13% of its staff, as losses pile up from the social media company's transition to focus on the metaverse.
Now, here's the thing. A lot of these tech companies, they know what's up, and they know we're in for a rough ride. Pause. We're going to be in for a rough ride. So, ladies and gentlemen, hold on to your hats because, again, this is only 23 days into the new year, and already we're facing slash after slash after slash. Jason would be proud. Now, if you all don't understand that reference, I'm talking about Friday the 13th. You know, Jason with the machete and walking around and slashing things. Okay, anyway, continuing.
And Twitter, of course, cut some 3,700 jobs after Elon Musk took over this fall, or that was about half the company's staff. More workers have quit in response to Musk's takeover, as the new CEO says the company was reportedly losing $4 million per day. But while some tech companies say they're hurting, it's worth noting that corporate profits hit a record high of $2.08 trillion in the third quarter of 2022. That's according to the Commerce Department.
Now, y'all probably wondering, okay, with that statement, if you're reporting at a plus, at a profit, why are they laying people off? Well, the reason for that is because a lot of these big companies, a lot of these big corporations, they forecast how things are going to be based on trends, based on the economy, based on everything. There's a lot of factors, and they know that we're in for a huge storm. This is only a quiet before the storm. So they're trying to maintain whatever profit they have because they know that if they keep these individuals on payroll, they know they're going to have to support them throughout this whole recession. So they're basically cutting ties right before we probably hit the peak, and we're not even at the peak yet. Continuing.
As higher inflation across many sectors drove revenue growth, critics say companies pass on the costs to consumers.
And there we go. There we go. Okay, there we go. So, of course, we just talked about Spotify just now, slashing 6%. Wayfair made a huge return over the pandemic. A huge return because, again, people were stuck in their homes. They said, hey, you know what? Let's remodel our houses. Let's make our house our home. And I think I actually used that quote in a few of my videos, especially when you're in lockdown. The only way you're going to be able to, be comfortable being locked up, and I said it, locked up, is to make your house your home. Make it as comfortable as possible. And a lot of people were shopping on Wayfair at that point. And, of course, they hired more people. And, they don't need those people no more. So they actually ended up slashing 10% of their staff, which is about 1,700 people. Next, and I was very surprised to see this. And this was actually a few days ago. Like Spotify was literally today, actually, when I was doing this recording. And with Google, I was very surprised. The king of the interweb is slashing also 6%. And that's roughly 12,000 jobs. Now, if you see companies like Google slashing jobs like this, then you know we are in huge trouble. Now, let's see. So this means, okay, let's read this really briefly. So Alphabet, the parent company of Google, said it will cut roughly 12,000 jobs from its global workforce on Friday, January 20th, which was a few days ago. The decision will impact approximately 6% of its company's employees. This will mean saying goodbye to some incredibly talented people which we worked hard to hire and have loved working with, says Google's CEO in an email to Google employees on Friday morning. Now imagine getting fired. Now, they say it's a layoff, but honestly, they ain't going to be calling these people back. I highly doubt it. So we're going to call it basically fire. We're going to call it fire. We're going to basically say what it is because they ain't coming back. I'm deeply saddened for that. The fact that these changes will impact the lives of Googlers weigh heavily on me, and I take full responsibility for the decisions that led us here. Now, he's throwing himself under the bus, it looks like. Now, apparently, employees were told that the company is bound to go through difficult economic cycles and will re-engineer our cost base and direct our talent and capital to our highest priorities. Now, that's basically, when you really look at it, that is corporate mumble jumble that we're going to restructure and we don't need y'all. Bruh. Yeah, that's basically what it means. Oh, okay. Microsoft. Now, I kind of saw this coming, honestly, because Microsoft sales hasn't been really good. They came out with a new phone a while ago. I think it was I forgot what it was called. But basically, it was supposed to compete against Samsung's Galaxy Fold line. Yeah, it basically failed. Yeah. Like, honestly, Microsoft needs to stay out of mobile devices. They do not know how to make phones. Even when they partner up with companies like Motorola. Yeah, that don't work well. They need to stay away from phones, stick to what you know. Now, apparently, their tablet and their laptop sales, I think, were doing well. I never actually owned. Well, actually, no, I had a Surface. I liked it, but honestly, it doesn't compete against an iPad. I'll be honest with you. But if you're looking for an overall, PC experience, then yes, you can go with the Surface. But that's neither here or there. So, of course, Microsoft laid off 5% of its workforce, which is equivalent to 10,000 employees. Now, the layoffs at Microsoft arrive in response to the microeconomic conditions and changing customer priorities. Again, corporate mumble jumble, which basically means, yeah, we're cutting back. The company said in the filing of its Securities and Exchange Commission. As we saw customers accelerate their digital spend during the pandemic, we're now seeing this optimize our digital spend to more with less, which basically is the same position as Wayfair. You saw a huge spike because people were more at home, and then not so much. Of course, he continued, we're also seeing organizations in every industry and geographic exercise caution in some parts of the world are in a recession and other parts are in an anticipated one. So basically, yeah. So Amazon, we've already discussed already. So they're doing some huge slashing after doing some huge hiring. Now, Coinbase. Now, obviously, I also saw this coming because Coinbase, if you don't know what Coinbase is, it is tied into cryptocurrency. And we know that, yeah, crypto is not doing too well. But ironically, Bitcoin has been going up. It's been going up recently. So it kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? It kind of makes you wonder because I'm not surprised with all this financial uncertainty. Of course, you're going to have people looking for other avenues to either invest or to make some quick cash or something to invest in that's not, not being triggered by this whole debaucherous situation. Yeah, I'm using big words today. So they're turning to crypto because a lot of people do assume crypto is kind of recession proof in a way. Technically, and this is not financial advice, technically it kind of is, but it isn't at the same time. Honestly, my opinion, nothing is safe right now. If you see companies like Google laying off people, then you know we are in trouble. Because they own the interweb. But anyway. And of course, Vox Media, I'm not sure who that is, but it looks like they laid off 7% of their workforce. And yeah, it looks like here layoffs affecting other industries. Is there any companies that I know here? Wow. Newell Brands, a parent company of the host customer brand like outdoor goods company Coleman and cookware like Crock-Pot, announced they're going to be laying off 13% of their office staff. And again, the move is in response to the reality of the economic environment. Again, corporate mumble jumble. Basically, they're saying we don't need you all. There's no sugarcoating the news. We are part of... Okay, blah, 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 blah. We don't need to know that. Now, where does this leave individuals? Now, this is obviously... You're going to have a lot of people out of jobs, crunching numbers, and just literally trying to get by. Now, I did predict this was going to happen, and that's why I did that video series. And if you do want to check it out, it's actually here on our website as well, under Money Mondays. I actually did... How to be successful in 2023. I did a few videos on how to get your mindset ready for something like this because I sensed that this was coming. But I think we all knew. To be fair, I think we all knew that this was coming. They were talking about it. But a lot of people were just basically la-di-da buying huge, big-ass screen TVs, 85-inch TVs, which you probably will never use. And they were ignoring the signs. But anyway, now where does this get us? Now, here in Canada, I know in the U.S. this has been happening quite a bit, even before all these layoffs and whatnot. But here in Canada, now I like to say here in Canada, we are more civilized. Now, I'm not saying you guys in the U.S. are not, but at the same time, there's different ways of thinking and whatnot. And of course, if you even look it up, us Canadians are more friendly and more civil to talk to. So shout out to us. I'm going to give us a round of applause here. Hey, listen, don't shoot the messenger, guys. Look it up. Even Google said Canada has the most friendliest people because we are friendly. Anyway, now where does it lead us here? Canadians are now stealing food. We're here, ladies and gentlemen. Now, you know two things. One, when people are stealing food in general. And two, when that sort of news hits the mass media. Now, that is never a good thing. Now, honestly, I know theft is theft, but at the same time, I really, honestly, truly feel bad when people have to resort to stealing food. Now, if it's greed, then you know what? It is what it is. I can't judge. Let Cheest himself judge y'all. But if you're stealing to survive, that's really, really bad. And honestly, again, this is only 23 days into the new year, and already we're facing this. Honestly, it's going to be pretty interesting to see what the rest of the year has to hold. But let's get into this article here. So Canadians are now stealing overpriced food from grocery stores with zero remorse. So basically, they ain't got no shame. If you can't beat them, join them. If you can't beat them because you aren't born into an excessively wealthy family, eat them. I don't know what that means. Anyway, if you can't eat them, the rich, because they're people and that's illegal to steal from them, then brag about it on Twitter. So apparently, to make a long story short with this segment, this little paragraph here, basically people are stealing food and they're gloating on Twitter about it. This is my loose understanding of the thought pattern behind a marked increase in social media users proudly declaring for all the world to see that they've been shoplifting from major Canadian stores or supporting those who do, in a retaliation against rapid greedflation. Now, greedflation is basically kind of getting on the bandwagon of inflation and capitalizing on it. For instance, I'll give you an example. Say if you know there's going to be a demand for eggs. You know what? We're going to use eggs as an example because with eggs, honestly, with eggs, that's more widespread. Now, when you see security tags going on eggs, then you really know that you're in trouble. Now, obviously, there's been increases in groceries all over North America, but eggs has been probably one of the predominant ones. So, that being said, the concept of greedflation is that you see a need for eggs, for instance, because obviously we use that to make a lot of our baked goods. Me personally, I like a good omelet in the morning. And it's one of those essentials that you need to make a lot of dishes and whatnot. So that being said, when you see a demand for eggs and you see the price going up, now what some retailers will do, and again, this is allegedly, I don't want to go put this out there, but what a lot of these companies are doing is they're kind of riding the wave and they're saying, hey, we're going to overcharge for it. So that's the concept of greedflation. We have finally hit the point where shoplifting from Auglage-owned supermarkets have become socially acceptable crime, like jaywalking or sneaking into an R-rated movie when you're only 14. Okay, I think I've actually done that. Anyway, I can't answer that, but I can tell you that consumers are starting to lose patience as grocery prices rise beyond the rate of inflation, while corporate giants pull in record profits. Now, apparently some people are fed up with the bullish and seems they are willing to risk criminal charges, theft under $5,000 to stick to the system, or to avoid starvation. Now, if you're doing this just to stick it to the man and to raise a point, then yeah, that's a definite L. I don't believe in that, honestly. But if you're doing it for survival, I'm not saying it's right, because it's still legal. Still counts as theft. But I do understand. I do understand where you're coming from if you have to feed your family. I understand that. By every part of my being, I understand. And I do pray for you and I feel sorry for you if you have to go to that extent. But if you're doing it to stick it to the system, then you're an idiot and I give you an L. There's other ways to prove your point. But anyway, continuing. So apparently, Dr. Sullivan, I can't pronounce his name, a frequent media commentator and senior director of algae foods at Halifax University, reported this week that while grocery theft has always been a major problem in the industry, it is now worse than before after more than a year of price hikes due to or on guise of inflation. Now, of course, this has always been around. Like, this is not it is correct. Food theft is not a new thing. This has been going on, like, for decades. Like, I'll give you an example. If you're walking through the grocery store and you know how they have those little containers where you actually have candies and chocolate and stuff like that, and you lift it up and you take one and you eat it, that's theft. That's theft. You literally stole one. Or if you're walking through the grocery store and you eat a grape, that's theft. Yes, that is theft. As minute as it is, that is still theft, ladies and gentlemen. And if you've done that, you're basically a criminal. But yeah. So continuing. So again, this is not a new thing. According to some industry data, an average size food retail store in Canada can have between $2,000 and $5,000 worth of groceries stolen per week in a piece published on January 10th. $2,000 to $5,000 a week. Good Lord. Now, this is allegedly, but I honestly have a theory behind this. Now, since y'all put in, and I'm talking to you retailers out there trying to save money, and put self-checkout. Self-checkout. You assume everybody is going to be as honest as you. That's an L. Like, literally, there's videos on TikTok, people scanning a chocolate bar and buying a TV. Bruh. Like, honestly, you expect people to be that honest? Honestly? No pun intended. Now, I think the introduction of self-checkouts was a big mistake because people literally scan whatever they feel they can scan. Now, you can have a camera there all you want, but how the hell are you going to catch somebody after the fact? If somebody goes and, say, has $100 worth of groceries, and they only scan, say, 90% of it, and they don't scan, say, I don't know, 2 packs of ramen noodles and a bag of chips, are you really going to go through the energy to go and find this person? Are you really going to go comb through 12 hours of video footage just to catch this person? No, of course you're not. So, of course, you're going to eat the loss. Again, no pun intended again. With relatively narrow profit margins in groceries, this amount is huge. Of course it is. It's huge in general. Like, seriously? Wow. To cover losses, grocers need to raise prices. So, in the end, we all pay for grocery theft, which is actually true. With the average family of 4 expected to spend more than $16,000 on groceries this year, roughly $1,066 more. It's actually they're spending $1,066 more than they did in 2022. And the food bank use is spiking. Now, if y'all don't know what food banks are, basically it's where people go who can't afford food, and it has to do with donations and whatnot. So apparently a lot of people are using that now. All right, all new highs. Some might even argue that Canadians are already paying dearly for grocery theft in a different kind. Now, apparently they did an interview with this person, Glendon Weston, and his family are what? Am I reading this right? Glendon Weston and his family are thieves who profiteered for decades. And if you think it's wrong to steal food, product assured for loss in order to survive, you're a clown. So this person's actually proud. This person is proud of what they're doing. If you're too poor to afford food and the government doesn't give you any options, taking food from a corporate grocery store chain to survive doesn't sound like theft to me, another wrote, inspiring a now viral response from this individual himself. I'm a loss for words. I'm honestly a loss for words. You're basically, okay, I understand the point. What they're saying is that obviously if it's to survive, I understand, but it's still wrong. Now coming out, pause, and admitting you've been you're basically been profiting off this for decades? Have you no shame? Like, honestly, have you no shame? Where has shame gone? Has shame, like has the vax got rid of shame? Y'all don't have shame no more? It didn't get rid of COVID, it looks like, but it got rid of shame. Anyway, continuing. I just had to throw that in. I'm sorry. You think it's appropriate to shoplift while grocery shopping just because you think food prices are too high? Crazy. Of course, this person retweeted And blah, 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 blah. Since they went live around 2 p.m. on Tuesday, these words of the professor had now been viewed 6.2 million times, soliciting more than 4,300 replies, but less than 1,000 likes. The majority of people commenting on the thread appear to disagree strongly with the assertion that shoplifting for groceries right now is crazy. Wow, okay. You think it's appropriate to raise food prices while people starve? Crazy, one responded. I don't know, boss, another wrote. I think suggesting that people should starve rather than take what they need from billion-dollar corporations ain't gonna get people on your side. How much more do I have in this article? I still got quite a bit, actually. I know this article is this long. This is honestly, I understand the point. I understand, but they basically say need, not want. You don't like a lot. Let me go full screen for a second. I gotta go to full screen. Where my full screen at? Now, I understand a lot of people see these grocery stores as big multinational corporations. Like we're talking about the big bad wolf. Now, if you see it that way, fine. But at the end of the day, they're still a business. They still employ people. Now, that being said, if you think that these big bad wolf grocery stores and corporations, you think that they're in the wrong, yeah, they probably are for maybe charging so much. But if you all stop stealing, they wouldn't have to raise the prices. Now, here's the thing. If this continues, you're going to have grocery stores on this list. Oh, I don't even have it on my screen on. You're going to see grocery stores on this list as well. Because a lot of you fail to realize that these grocery stores have employees. There's only so far they can raise grocery prices where it's desirable to the consumer. If you start charging $10, and this, I know this is ridiculous, and this is hopefully not going to happen, but just imagine for a carton of eggs, you charge $10. No one's going to pay for that. So if you can't sell your product because it's priced too high to cover the cost of theft, what do you think is going to happen? They're going to start laying off people in order to balance the bottom line. Now, a lot of people fail to realize this as well. These companies have investors. They have investors to answer to. A lot of people purchase shares in this company. Now, when shares go down, those people lose money too. It's honestly, there's lose all over. And I understand. I honestly understand you're in survival mode. You feel that you need this, blah, blah, blah. I understand that. Now, there's a difference, however, between need and want. Now, when I looked it up, and I wish I saved the article, but I accidentally closed it, but before I recorded this video. Now, the predominant item that is stolen from grocery stores is meat. Now, who says you have to have meat? That is not a need. That is a want. Now, I understand if food in general was not access to you, then yeah, I understand. But a lot of people are cutting corners these days. Why do you? Yeah, I'm talking to you out there who are doing this. Why do you assume that you are special enough that, hey, you know what? Screw the system. I'm going to go steal some meat. Pause. Whatever happened with doing without something? Whatever happened with sacrificing? Okay, you know what? I won't get meat this week. I'll get meat next week. Whatever happened to that? Whatever happened to budgeting? Y'all don't budget no more, some of you people. Some of you don't budget. Instead, you're resorting to theft. That is no excuse. Now, I understand if you have no money, that's a little bit different. Then I kind of understand. But if you're going on the basis, I deserve this, I want this, then no, I don't agree with that. Now, continuing with the article here. Now, where would I leave off? Okay, here I am. So many appear to be on the mind right now that shoplifting is appropriate response to what's been happening at grocery stores in Canada, and apparently this is happening in the US as well, and that consumers should avoid rattling those who steal, as this may be a desperate situation. Now, again, I understand in some situations, yes, it is. It could be a desperate situation, but not all of them. Not all of them. The correct response to seeing someone stealing food, especially baby food, is that not see it. I worked in retail for years. Supermarkets waste more than that is stolen. I call it shrink. Okay. You already subsidizing loss at the till. Don't worry about it. Now, again, this normie mindset here, that's a definite L. Now, I understand. Okay. I understand about the baby formula, the baby food. If you have to feed your child, okay, I understand. And if you do get caught, the court system is a little bit lenient if it's for survival. But if you're stealing a rump roast, then that's a whole different story. Now let's move on here because I don't want to listen to these responses anymore. Many debates are now raging within the thread about the matrix of capitalism, human rights, corporate greed, excessive food waste, and who exactly is the bad guy of all of this. Now, honestly, I think it's... Okay, here we go here. Now, this tweet here, shoplift is another word rich people invent to guilt trip exploited people who are taking what has been stolen from them. Okay, I don't know what that means. Okay, I kind of understand what that means. And apparently this is a lot of expired stuff, I guess. Wow. This is where we are, ladies and gentlemen. This is where we are. Now, finishing off this article, compassionate as Canadians may be, it's important to note that shoplifting is a federal offense punishable under the Criminal Code of Canada with fines up to $2,000 in potential jail time. Now, this is very true, but it of course depends on how many times you've done it and what the nature of the offense was and how much was lost and whatnot. The fact that more people than ever are willing to risk landing this charge to put food on the tables, perhaps something worth paying attention to and doing something about it. Now, honestly, every situation is different, but at the end of the day, that's where budgeting comes into play. You have to budget your money, ladies and gentlemen. You have to separate the need from the want. Now, a lot of people don't do that because they're in this mindset, one, that it's owed to them, or two, they're so used to getting, the little luxuries of a steak once a week or whatever. But you guys have to understand this. We are in a recession now. I don't care what anybody says. When you see stuff like this and tech companies as big as Google, for instance, laying off people, then you know we are in a huge pickle. Pause. Now, that being said, apparently there was a law firm that came out very recently. Now, I don't know if this is actually free publicity, if they're trying to get free press, but either way, shout out to them. I'm going to give them a round of applause. Because this law firm is actually willing to represent people who have been caught stealing groceries. Now, again, like I said, each situation is different. You just never know what somebody's situation until you walk in their shoes. Now, if you're stealing to feed yourself because you really don't have any alternatives, then yes, I'm glad this option is out here for you. So that way you don't have to face a criminal charge. At least you have some sort of representation. But if you're stealing for greed, then L. You ain't getting no pity from me. Let's go into this article here. Ontario law firm offering free legal services for people caught stealing groceries. An Ontario law firm is offering pro bono services for first offenders. So this is for first offenders. So if you got caught a second time, you ain't getting ish. So this is kind of like a one-time get a jail free card, like a first offense kind of thing. Anyway, on Monday, We Defend Your Legal Services, catchy name, shared an Instagram post saying that they will defend who will be arrested for shoplifting food from a grocery store at no cost. My thing is people who are not motivated by greed or gain, if it's for necessity, and if you've fallen on hard times, just a horrible day or just a big mistake, we'll defend you pro bono. And actually, I'm going to give him a round of applause for this. I think this is a great thing. This is actually a great thing. And shout out to my paralegal friend here, Frank Afrodo. We're going to call him Frank A. Apparently he's a paralegal. So he's not a lawyer, but he is a paralegal, which in Canada is pretty much almost the same as a lawyer. It's not like in the US. Look it up. Anyway, so my thing, okay, we read that part already. Licensed paralegal firm. Okay, here we go. We're not going to charge money for someone who stole a carton of eggs or a loaf of bread. If you can't afford the eggs or the bread, you can't afford us. And we're the ones you need help from the most. First offenders in the GTA are the only ones who can qualify from these pro bono services, and the total value of stolen goods has to be less than $5,000, which is in Canada. A lot of whoever don't know, it's seen as a summary offense. Summary offense is a less serious offense. Indictable, that's when you're, that's like would be theft over, and you're looking for more serious offenses. So as per the criminal code, those who are found guilty of theft under $5,000 can serve up to 2 years in prison. To avoid jail time, Frank says those charged can complete diversion program in lieu of formal prosecution, like being involved in a charitable organization, community service, or writing an apology, since the theft is considered minor in nature. So the whole concept of diversion is that instead of jail time, like it says here, you do something in order to show remorse. So what you would do is you would work in the community, you do some community service, some volunteer work. And again, like it says here, you would write an apology to the store that you took from. They'll probably ban you for like maybe a year at the most. Sometimes they won't even ban you. They'll say, okay, you know what? Like bygones be bygones kind of thing, depending on how much you stole and so on. Once if they completed the requirements of the diversion program, the case is withdrawn, he says. And a way of diverting the case out of the court system, it's recognition if we've treated the offender not as punishable. Okay, so basically, and a good thing about this as well, and I didn't mean to kind of sway off topic here. The good thing of programs like this with the whole diversion program, and I'm going into the legal realm here. The good thing about having a diversion program is clearing up the court dockets. Now, when you see small crimes like this, petty crime, we call them petty crimes. When you see petty crimes like this on the rise, the court system is going to be backed up. It's already backed up as it is because of all the lockdowns that we had. And on to now, even traffic tickets, they're looking into those and trying to get those fixed. And there's a huge backlog. We're talking about maybe around 1.5 to 2 years. So with these cases, they're trying to play catch up with. If you have programs like this, it clears the docket a little bit more, because who wants to sit there and hear a case for somebody who stole a carton of eggs? Like seriously, it's not even worth the court's time. Like the store lost like $4 at the most, and you're spending all the resources for $4. It makes no sense. And plus, who wants to ruin their lives for a carton of eggs anyway? Okay, so while the Instagram post is new, Frank said has been offering pro bono service of his type for years. So this is actually not a new thing. The reason I've been doing this for free is that when I was a teenager with a motorcycle, I got a lot of tickets. I was lucky to have a lawyer to help me out. He basically trained me and gave me an opportunity I wouldn't have otherwise had. That's actually, you know what? Shout out to him. Shout out to him. That's actually really good. I love hearing stories like this. Basically, people helping other people and you're giving back. You're paying it forward. So I like this. To do these type of cases, I do these type of cases for a reason, to remember where I came from and to give back. I like this. So Dr. Richard LeBlanche, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, professor of law and ethics at York University, told CTV News, shout out to CTV, that is a bar set very high to prove the kind of theft was made out unnecessary, which is actually true. Is it ethical to steal? No, of course not. Well, obviously, I just answered the question here. But there are expectations. There's very narrows for necessity. The bar for what is very high, and a lawyer can argue that. You could offer restitution. There are programs in place for individuals and people who have fallen bad on their luck, and you really need legal advice for that. LeBlanc stresses theft is unethical and illegal, but there is also a public policy reason in play here. We don't want people dying because of lack of food, of course. None of us want that. But people can feel like they have no choice and that there's a necessity might come in. So again, it really depends on the person's situation. Now, again, they talk about here the rise in grocery prices. So apparently he sees about 20 to 30 grocery shoplifting cases per year and says he hasn't seen a rise in them lately despite the raw. Really? This is actually very interesting here. Now I'm going to read this again. Now, even though they're talking about the rise in grocery prices, he hasn't seen a rise despite the rise in the costs. Food prices across the country are expected to continue to rise according to the 13th edition of the Food Price Report. For a family of four, the total annual grocery bill is expected to cost 16,228 Canadian dollars in 2023, which is, again, they're talking about that increase we were talking about earlier in the earlier article of $1,000 from 2022. And of course, this has to do with, C-19 and theft and whatnot. So very interesting. So this is where we are, ladies and gentlemen, for the month of January. And again, we are only 23 days in, and we're already having all these issues. Now, this is something I decided to. I'm probably going to be doing this on a monthly basis, just so, that some of us don't know where we are in the world. They don't know how we stand economically. And this is not a good picture at all. This is not a good picture. I see tough times ahead, and I did see this in the beginning. That's why I tried to prep you guys. Watch my videos. Hopefully they inspire you to kind of think outside the box. And it's here on RedpillCanuck.com. Anyway, that's going to be it for today's Money Monday. Did I say Money Monday? Okay, anyway. That's going to be it for today's episode of Money Monday. Make sure you hit the like button on the way out. Special shout out again to RedpillCanuck.com, our daily pill, where we get all our news articles, podcasts, and whatnot. And of course, we have our previous Money Mondays here for your viewing pleasure. And if you want to check out some of our other videos, it's also here as well under RPC News. And again, shout out to everybody on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We're almost updated on our podcast catalog here. And that's going to be it for today. I will see you guys in the next one. Later. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Make sure you smash that like button. And to check out our more recent uploads, check here on the top left. And to check out our playlist, check here on the top right. And make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. And also check out our Quick Hits channel, which is also located down below for our more bite-sizable content. I'll see you guys in the next one.